out with WWE to work as an on-air personality. How did that go about, and what happened there?
Well, I had been working for Vern Gagne since about 1987. That's when I started with Vern. And, I didn't know, I wasn't completely naive to what was going on with Vern, but I was so excited to work with Vern in particular, because I wrestled in high school and in Minnesota, and I'd met Vern and kind of looked up to him. He was like the local hero, and, watched everybody come through, and I was a huge wrestling fan. So the opportunity to work for Vern Gagne was a big deal for me, and because it was such a big deal, I didn't look too closely at what he was doing and whether it was a good career move for me or not. I was just passionate and excited. Now, when Vern hired me, he was kind of he'd been getting his ass kicked pretty good. Financially, he was funding the company, out of his own, personal retirement and wealth and the money that he had made over the years. He wasn't really making any money. He had lost a lot of his big-name talent, Gene Okerlund, Hulk Hogan, Kurt Hennig, so many Rick Rude, so many people had left to go to the WWF at that time, now WWE, that Vern was hanging on by a thread. I didn't know that, at least not to the extent I should have. But the good news was, when I went to work for Vern, he hired me as, syndication sales. I was a salesman when Vern hired me. That's what I did. And he put me into syndication, and I did okay at that. And then I got to learn a little bit about production, and I eventually learned how to edit, and I learned how to run a camera, and I ended up, serendipitously, in front of a camera, just because the lead announcer ended up getting thrown in jail the night before. So I got exposed to all of these elements, within the business of the wrestling business. But as exciting as that was, Vern had gotten to the point by 1991 where he was done. It was. I had gone for months and months and months without a paycheck. I was I was in the midst of a personal bankruptcy. I was having my cars literally, repossessed out of my driveway. It was a bad time. I had two young kids that I was feeding rice and beans because that's all we could afford, and it was tough. And then I saw an ad in the Minneapolis paper that the WWF had put in there looking for an announcer. And I went to Vern and said, Vern, do you mind? Out of respect, because I was, close to Vern on a personal level, and just respected the hell out of him, and Greg. And they both said, do what you got to do, Eric. You got to feed your family. So I went down, and I wasn't excited about leaving AWA because of my relationship there and my comfort. But at the same time, I knew that, trying out for WWF or WWE now could be a game changer for me and my family. So I was excited. And it was, I still remember to this day, I flew into LaGuardia the other day, and I was coming down the same terminal that I did back in 1991, and I reflected back on that. It was an amazingly exciting time, but I sucked. I look back at it now, and people send me that clip, and I look at it and go, oh, my God. That was horrible, but it was exciting.
Who were his announcers back then?
He had, Bobby Heenan, Gorilla Monsoon, Jesse Ventura.
Gotcha. Okay.
Tony Schiavone was there for a little while.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out where Tony, because Tony called me. He was just dying to come back. He was there about 6 months, and the schedule was killing him. So,
yeah, I think the role that they were, and I could. It was a long time ago, so I don't know if I remember this, but I think it was more of a, hosting the third string syndication, type shows, and kind of the same thing I was hired for at WCW, quite frankly. Kind of being the third string or fourth string announcer, doing some international, tracks and things like that. I certainly wasn't up for, the primetime shows.
So, Eric, talking about that WWE tryout or WWF at the time, is that something you would have met Vince at, or Kevin Dunn, or who would you conduct that with, the whole tryout concept?
It was kind of weird. Now, I think if I met Vince, it was very briefly. Like, hey, how are you? Thanks for coming in, blah, 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 blah. It was a very, very brief exchange. And then he went one way, and I was taken into the studio. And I never met Kevin Dunn face-to-face at that point. but I believe it was Vince and Kevin, and I could be wrong, but I believe it was Vince and Kevin who were, I was standing on camera in front of a chroma key screen that had looked like a big crowd behind me, and they were just talking to me over the intercom saying, okay, now do this. Okay, now try to do this. And here's a broom. Interview the broom. And in between that, they would ask me questions. How's Vern doing? What's going on? Has he still got the big house out in Mountain, Minnesota, type of thing. Conversational. And then they would give me direction, and I would attempt to do what they were looking